and welcome to Local Edition on Time Warner Cable. I'm Steve Swatt. In the next few minutes, we're going to talk about the drought and the prospects for a water bond this year. My guest this segment is Mariko Yamada, who is a member of the State Assembly from Yolo and Solano counties. Thanks for being back with us.
Thank you very much. It's always great to see you.
Well, obviously, your district is going through the same situation that everyone else is going through. It's very, very dry.
Absolutely. It's a critical time in California history, and we have an obligation to try to meet water needs now and in the future.
Do you think the severe drought that we're going through now is added impetus to get a water bond on the ballot this year?
Well, you would think so. Certainly, water is on everyone's mind. I think issues concerning conservation and just taking our water for granted, are certainly in the forefront now. As far as its relationship to getting the water bond done this year, we are in some very serious discussions in the Assembly and the Senate.
And that comes down to politics, of course. A few years ago, in 2009, the original water bond was written for the ballot, but it never made it on the ballot. It was $11.1 billion. And the feeling was that we were in a recession and we just couldn't afford it. So now, some of your colleagues are trying to come up with a scaled-down version.
That's correct. Well, actually, I was there for the 2009 discussion, and I can tell you that the process that we're using this year, especially in the Assembly, I am the senior member on Water, Parks, and Wildlife, and we are taking the approach that we need to have hearings up and down the state to actually get local input. Chair Anthony Rendon from the Los Angeles area is the Water, Parks, and Wildlife leader for us this time period, and I'm a little more optimistic that we're going to come to a more saleable agreement for the future.
One of the problems with the last one was that there was a lot of, shall we say, pork in it.
Yes, there were hours that went by during that session in 2009 that the size of the bond grew with every passing hour, and I think the voters understood that that was not the best way to go about it, so we're going to try to meet the needs of our California residents.
Let me ask you about one sticking point that has been traditionally here at the state capitol over water, and that's storage. Democrats generally don't want to build more reservoirs. In the original water bond, the $11 billion water bond, there was $3 billion for water storage in the Central Valley and one in Northern California. Governor Brown in the State of the State address mentioned briefly, but did mention more storage. Are Democrats willing to build more reservoirs, do you think?
I think the issue of storage is certainly one of the very important parts of California's water futures. I think for me, water issues are fairly simple. When you have too much, you should have a place to save it and store it in an environmentally safe way. And when you don't have enough, you share it in a fair way. So I think it's achievable. I don't think that we can afford at this point in our California water discussion to exclude anything from being on the table.
We only have a few seconds left, but I want to ask you very briefly. In that water bond may be some ancillary funds toward the Twin Tunnels project that the governor wants, and that could turn off voters in Northern California.
Well, one thing is very clear in the Assembly version, and I can maybe go out on a limb with the Senate as well, there will be no money for paying for the Twin Tunnels.
All right. Well, on that note, we will end this discussion. Mariko Yamada, thank you very much for coming by. Appreciate it.
It's always great to be here. Thank you so much.
And we also want to thank our viewers for watching Local Edition on Time Warner Cable. A reminder, you can see this and other interviews on YouTube, also on My Government On Demand. I'm Steve Swatt. Have a great day.